Welcome to Filter Optional. Today's August 12th. I'm Chico West.
And I'm Shannon West.
How are you doing this morning, Shannon?
Much better than I was last time.
Yes, you actually look better and
I
you
wanted
sound
to
better.
cut my head off and leave it at the door.
What
I
was
could
last
not-
time? Last time you had a big summer cold.
Summer cold, I guess. I don't know. It hurt to take a shower. Like the water on my head, it hurt my head. It was horrible. I would go in and put a heating pad, like roll it up and put it across my face.
Yes. And I can still hear the music in the background. It's finally fading out. Thank you, Kevin.
It's exactly
okay.
the same
He
way I
was
do it
like-
every single show.
I know. He was letting us intro
Yes,
in.
I like the intro. I'm excited. You know, last week we had Caleb, and man, he shared his story. He's head of our business development team at Casa Colina. You're
Yes.
his boss.
I am his boss.
And who's your boss?
God.
You don't want to say me?
You're not my boss. You're my partner,
Yeah.
but you're not my boss.
I know. I'm your partner. I'm glad I have you as a partner.
Yes,
It is nice having you as a partner.
but I have no boss except for Jesus.
Yes. Well, you know what I'm excited about is, man, you know what we're gonna do today? We're gonna talk about Casa Colina's family program, but not just Casa Colina's family program. We have a special guest in studio today. We're excited about our guest, and I'm excited about saying her last name as well. You know, but why don't we introduce Angie Booyah? How are you doing, Angie?
I'm good. It is a great last name, Chico.
It is
Booyah.
a good last name.
It is. So
Booyah.
tell us, Angie, you know, what you do, what your role is, and we're going to, talk about a couple different things.
Okay. Yes, so I'm Angie Booyah, and I've known Chico and Shannon for 20
Plus,
years.
I'm sure, yes.
20 plus years.
20 plus years. I always share this when I talk about you, Chico, is when I was in my first graduate school class. I was sitting in class, being very studious on the front row, and I hear this voice in the back, this very obnoxious voice
Who was that?
It was you
Oh,
talking
okay,
about
yes.
all these different things, and I thought, who is that guy, and what is his problem?
And somebody needs to move him to the front row so he is not
needs to
distracted.
focus,
Yeah,
yes.
he cannot focus being on the back.
And I never thought I'd be working with you, and
yeah.
and here we are, 20 plus years later, and we've been in business for a long time. So I'm one of the founding partners of a local private practice. Been working with families in treatment.
Sparrow House Counseling.
Oh yes, Sparrow House Counseling.
Yes.
Thank you, Shannon.
Has a new home near North Park Mall.
I love Sparrow House Counseling because I love you and your partners.
Thank you.
And y'all have really kind of exploded your counseling practice.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch it grow. You know.
Well, and the vision for us was we really genuinely wanted a group counseling practice of people who just wanted to practice therapy and be able to actually do the specialties they wanted to do.
Right.
So they didn't have to see everybody. I don't have to work with a teenager. I get to not do that. I get to work with adults because that's what I'd like to do. And our child and adolescent people will work with the teens and the children. And
When you have
so-
people within even the age groups, you
Right.
have people that do, an eating disorder or a
Yes.
trauma or addiction.
Marriage.
You
Yes,
do
marriage,
have some
yes.
addiction
And
that
yeah,
can
so
get
the
a
whole
good-
practice is based on that. The idea
Right.
of people getting to really specialize and work with the people that they're qualified
Exactly.
for. So, and Chico, you were my supervisor. You knew all of our partners, and you guys played a significant role in not only launching my personal career, but forming in a lot of ways and informing people at Sparrow House and the partnership team and encouraging. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And so-
one of
and
your
we
partners
always-
is Fabio, right?
Fabio.
That would be Dr. Stephen Lytle.
Yes.
I like to call him Fabio.
I know.
So
So,
hopefully he's
he's
listening
great,
to this.
yes.
And I love Steve and Wendy and Christina and Angie.
Yes.
They have a great team. And
We've
they're-
always cross referraled
Yes.
and cross pollinated
Yeah.
because we all believe in the same thing and we all kind of grew up together in
Yeah.
this business and
And we're glad Chico finally got into the treatment industry.
right
Because this is where he belongs.
completely.
This is
100%.
your
thank you. Yeah.
This
I
is
like
your
that.
sweet spot. And
It
it's
is.
so nice that you did that and took that on. So
And so if you're the use of our podcast is obviously to help educate people about addiction in Casa Colina, but it's also for anyone listening. We are always wanting, if you have a need for just other types of counseling,
Right.
look at, what is it, Sparrow House
Counseling.com. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're right there off
SparrowHouseCounseling.com,
Caruth
and
and
they have
75.
they have a
It's
great-
great location.
They have
Thank
a great
you.
website. It's
And they got a
very
great
informative,
office.
and you can go and look at their staff. And the office is in Dallas. Actually, I'm just going to plug this real quick, but it's in Dallas, which a lot of really good therapists are in Plano and Frisco and Richardson and whatever. And I don't really know the reason for that. I don't know if it's office space or I don't know what
Right.
that is, but they are really great therapists in Dallas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a
It-
huge
it is. It
gift
is.
to Dallas.
Thank
So
you.
SparrowHouseCounseling.com.
And yeah, and if you
Any
need
needs for
any,
teen, anything like
Children,
she said,
yes.
they've got it all. Okay.
yeah, they
Children
got
and
like
family.
20 therapists working with them.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and
About
so
22.
so Angie comes over and help. You can talk about how
Great.
you help us at Casa.
Yes, would
Yeah.
love to. So I've been working with families
Yes.
for the past 13 years. Started working and still run a family program at a different treatment center.
I don't mind you plugging.
Great.
Burning Tree.
Thank you.
Yes.
I want to be respectful of the space that I'm
Yeah.
in. So yes, been
But see, I know what we do, and I
Right.
think I know we do good work, and I
You do.
love. I'm going to take some credit. I helped plug you into the Burning Tree
you did.
role.
Yes, you
Yes.
set my interview up with David Elliott and
Yes.
helped me with that. So been running their family program, and I'm their facilitator, one of their facilitators for the past 13 years. Chico called me up, said, "Hey, I'm starting Casa Colina. I need a family program. Can you help me out a little bit?" And I said, Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. I love working with families, love being a part of families in recovery, and getting to what I like to say is I'm not sitting in my office chair just counseling. I get to go be and kind of get in all the crap
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
families and begin to talk about the disease.
And hopefully get them on the road to recovery.
Yes.
And not that it's in a short amount. Therapy sometimes is a long-term commitment to see results. You
Yes.
have to really put the work in,
Yes.
with an individual. I mean, you as a therapist, but then as the individual. But with family programs, you get to see some kind of immediate effects
Yes.
of their aha moments.
the light bulb moment,
The light
which is
bulb
such a
moments,
gift,
and
where
you
they
get
go,
to see it, and
Right.
so that's such a cool gift. And so y'all can
Yes.
kind of talk about.
yes.
Yeah, but I wasn't
Hey, did-
quite going there yet. But we will come back
Oh,
to
I
that
wasn't-
real quick.
well, I didn't-
I mean, what
I
I'd
didn't
like-
know where you were going.
I-
Okay, I mean, I
I
wasn't
know, but you-
on board with where you were going. So.
No, you weren't, and you said, "Do you
wasn't
have a
like it
plan?"
wasn't like
and
I
then
was
you
derailing
kind of
Okay.
negotiated.
Can we
your
talk about
plan.
families now?
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Do y'all need some therapy? I can help.
We do.
I wasn't derailing the
You,
agenda.
you weren't
Go ahead.
derailing, but I had a plan. What I was going to talk about
Okay.
is I like Sparrow House. A couple episodes ago we talked with Gordo about organizational health. That's what they have over at Sparrow House. They have some good organizational health.
Yes.
They're not just good counselors. They're really
Agreed.
looking at what's best for them, just like we do at Casa. And so I just wanted to give that plug
Thank you.
first, and stuff like that.
Okay, go ahead. One man show.
Yeah, one man.
One man agenda show.
It's filter optional. You're the filter. You're going
No,
to
I'm
bring me
filter-
back. I am
Okay.
totally optional
Go
with
ahead.
my filter.
Go ahead.
But like Angie said, is I was excited about when I opened Casa. I go, Angie, you got to help me do this.
Right.
And the cool thing is Angie, like she said, she worked with me before, so she could kind of you could kind of decipher Chico-ness.
Yes, I understand how to speak Chico.
Yeah.
I'm
you
fluent.
You didn't have to go to the school of understanding Chico before jumping into it.
Correct. I already had the language.
Right.
I understood,
And so I could
What it
cast
means.
Yes.
I could cast my vision,
Yes.
and you helped just kind of put it together in a great package. I just threw out some ideas. We've done some
He
episodes
vomits
on
puzzles. He vomits puzzles, and
Yes.
we
Yeah.
piece them together.
I
Yeah.
love puzzles.
Yeah,
You
and,
are- you
and
are
here's
already
the deal,
a
Angie.
master.
You can go back and we did 2 episodes on being married to someone ADD. As Shannon was talking about that.
Oh.
So that's kind of my ADD. I have this vision. I
Yes.
casted it, and the cool thing is we came up with this idea, and you really helped put it together and form it together from all your experience of what family program is. And when I want to talk about that, it's what we're trying to do at CASA, and I was thinking about it today. As you heard me share this years ago from Dr. Jerry Brown when he talked about fluffy limits yields fluffy results.
Correct.
And what we're trying to do is help families quit doing that.
Yes.
In addiction, I mean, can you expand on that a little bit? How we're trying to disrupt that system, because most systems have these fluffy limits. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Well, and I would say it's fair to say that most systems don't know they have fluffy limits. Like most systems do, this is what my parents did. This is what I think will work. Maybe I just read a parenting book or I went to a seminar. They don't realize that they have the fluffy limits. And the way I think about it, and this may not be where you want me to go, but the way I think about it is with the fluffy limits, they're oftentimes based in those family rules that we talk about.
Okay, so talk about that, because
Right.
People hear that some people might know those family rules, but what are those family rules?
Right, and they're unspoken. I always like to say that very clearly. Very few family members, kind of families, sit down and say these as, hey, these are our operating rules. This is how we're going to do things. But the unspoken family rules are don't feel, don't talk, and don't trust. And I'll talk about each one of them very quickly, but especially in addiction. What we see is that, and it's very circular, right? I don't like my feelings about your feelings. So if I am your sister, Shannon, and you're, drinking a lot,
Yeah.
what begins to happen for me as a family is that members, I start thinking, oh my gosh, well, if Shannon gets really upset about things, she's going to go drink. Like that's her solution.
Right.
And in order to kind of help Shannon, I probably should make sure that she doesn't get
Upset.
ashamed. And so like I might be getting married and I think, well, I don't want Shannon to feel bad because, oh, Shannon's, married to this guy. And,
Right.
I'm going to marry
Right.
this like non-ADD, great,
Yeah.
wonderful therapist man. And so,
Right. Right.
What are y'all talking about?
Right. Right.
I just got ADD. I
know.
lost my train of thought.
that's great. Just,
Yeah,
look
okay.
at the picture on
Yeah.
the wall or
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
Okay. So, and what happens in a family is I start thinking, oh, I don't want my sister Shannon to feel shame. So I start doing things. Maybe I downplay my excitement. I start managing, oh, whatever dress you want. Sure, come to this. I don't care. Because really, I'm going, I don't want you to feel. Because if you
Right.
feel, you might show up drunk at my wedding.
Exactly.
Okay. And so, but what's happening is as your family member, I don't actually like what I feel when I see you in pain or shame.
Right.
So both of us really don't want to feel.
Right.
But I am at least trying to protect you from your feelings because in my mind, your feelings have really bad results.
Well, and what
Right.
we call that's that dance.
Yes.
It's the family dance, and every family has this dance that we go through. We've mentioned my family and Shannon's family is my family's dance is, man, it's high intensity, high emotions. Your family dance is people don't talk about things.
Right.
It's still the dance. Neither one's about good, bad, right, or wrong.
No.
That's just the dance.
When it's about identifying your dance. Because
Oh,
I think
yes.
you can't get help until you can recognize it.
Right.
I
Because I
think-
was about to say, you probably can't recognize it if you're in that sister-sister relationship, and
Right.
you just live that way of not wanting to upset your sister, and so then you start minimizing all the things and the feelings in your life, but you don't even realize you're doing it. It's just become
Part of
a
the
part
dance.
of who you are. Yeah.
Well, and if you go back to one of our first podcasts, we talked about those feelings: fear, pain, anger, shame, guilt, loneliness, joy.
Right.
And a lot of people are just driven by fear.
Right.
And so don't feel.
Right.
We found that to be true. You see it in your private practice. You see it in these family
I
programs.
see it in myself.
And yourself.
I have a
yes.
I have a 10-year-old. And then
we all have it.
Right.
Yeah,
I
mean,
worry about his feelings. And I know growing up, being a recovered woman from bulimia and my own eating disorder, I held my family hostage for years with my emotions. And so
Right.
they were, there was this very strong family reality of if Angie's upset, what's going to happen?
Right.
And my sister, was part of that. So I have compassion for those siblings and
Right.
families because they take on a role because nobody quite knows what to do.
Right.
And we can't identify the dance. And I think that's a lot of what
We're
we
doing.
do in
yeah.
family programs and doing in family work. But
So you help the
specifically-
families identify
Their dance.
their dance.
Yes, and so
How they take care of the other person's
Yes,
feelings.
yes, okay.
Because really it's an effort to avoid theirs.
And so that can be a light bulb moment. That's one area.
That's
that
one
can
light
be
bulb
that
moment.
can be
Well, and
like,
I can
oh.
give you an example. I was
Yeah.
meeting with a family. Their son's getting ready to graduate CASA, and they went through the family program, and the mom shared with me, and he's 29 years old, and he's engaged,
Mm-hmm. So he's an adult son,
adult
Yes.
son, and so
which is I think
Which is a
important
whole nother
in
thing.
families,
Yes.
but I don't
Yes.
want to digress.
But
Yeah.
the deal is, I was meeting with them today, and they said, man, that family program, it was intense, and I didn't like the intensity, but as I step back, even going through the process of the program, it's all right. Maybe the approach that Casey took, she's intense, but what I found is I thought she was a harsh mom, but she's not a harsh mom. She's a mom that's direct and really sets firm boundaries and models those boundaries.
Right.
It's like all right to have your feelings.
Yeah.
And so she goes, man, I keep stepping back and learning more, and that's our hope.
Yes.
And I was encouraged.
It's so important, I think, for families to understand. Like, I'm not an addict, and I haven't. Chico was sober when we met, so I haven't had to go through like a family program
Right.
with a loved one, fortunately. But coming from the family side, they need to understand, and the people that are listening need to understand that, the addict has to learn how to feel their feelings, because they haven't ever felt their feelings, because the second they started to feel a feeling, they would just drink or use
Immediately.
So that's like Alcoholics Anonymous or Addiction 101.
yeah,
Okay?
good job.
All right, like feel your feelings. But no one ever, I think that CASA does a great job at addressing the family, because there needs to be the family 101, because we too, I had to recognize in our marriage, because you are still in recovery, I had to address my own codependency. We've talked about that a couple of episodes, and I could talk about it forever now, because like Chico said, my family wasn't vomiting feelings all over the place. And so I had to address how to feel my feelings, because when I would start to feel my feelings, I didn't go use or drink because I'm not an addict, but I participated in self-destructive behavior. I
Right.
mean, maybe anxiety, depression,
Controlling.
the codependence.
Well,
The
that's what I was about
codependency
to
was
say is,
killing me.
like,
Codependency.
Busyness or achievement
yes.
can be some of those, and they look better, but
That's
and
right.
they're a slower burn. Is how I
Right.
think about it. Like they hurt people over the long run in much longer distance.
Right. But they
versus
make you
somebody
just
who's,
as sick.
shooting meth. Yes.
They make you just as sick.
Sometimes sicker, actually.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
Yeah,
truly.
sometimes truly sicker.
Yeah.
So if we go back to those unspoken rules, then
Right.
the next one being don't talk.
Correct, and that's one that a lot of times family members will say, but we talk about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always I define it a couple different ways, and you actually added this, I think.
Share.
A couple months, 6 months ago, share. We don't share about things. Because families will talk, but oftentimes it's either somebody will lecture about something, lecture 402B, don't drink and drive, don't
Right.
text and drive. We can expand this. And they would
Right.
say, oh, well, we're talking. But what's happening is people aren't actually sharing their feelings, because we're not even aware of what's happening emotionally. Most people who use substances aren't aware until they actually get into recovery. Oh, I'm using this because I don't like the way I feel, and I'm changing the way I feel, and that's my solution.
Right.
Most family members don't realize, oh, I'm controlling, not because I'm a bad person, but it's the same progression. I don't like the way I feel. I don't have a different solution. And so I've got to go control something to try to feel
Exactly.
better on the inside.
And so
And it does go back to identifying the feelings too, which
Yes.
the addict learns. Okay, so they go off to treatment. They get the feelings chart.
Yes.
The fear, anger,
shame, yes.
yeah. They get the feelings chart, but the family needs the feelings chart too, because I didn't know. I had to, when I would say, "You're making me." I'm so frustrated or whatever, and he's like, well, how are you feeling or whatever, and I'm like, frustrated, and he's like, frustrated is not a feeling or whatever. And I mean, that's our
That's not very nice.
First-
He therapized you.
it's our first few years of marriage
Yes.
were a dance
Yes.
of well, that's not a feeling. Okay, sure feels like a feeling, but I did. I had to I didn't know the feelings. I'd never been to treatment. I'd
Right.
never been to
You
recovery.
grew
I'd
up in
never
a
been into-
family that didn't talk about feelings.
right? But so
And that's
Because
not
most-
good, bad, right, or wrong. That's just how you grew
right,
up.
but
Well,
so,
and most families don't talk about
No, they
feelings.
don't.
At all.
The-
Everybody has this dance, and the
Yes.
most common dance for
So
most
I'm just-
families
Yeah.
is they
Go ahead.
don't actually share their feelings. And when we say
I'm
don't
just,
talk
so I'm just
or share,
encourage. So I'm encouraging people that are listening that will leave this to identify actually what feelings are first of all, and so to do the number one,
Yes.
to not
What do I feel?
what do I
Yes.
feel. The number two,
don't talk or share.
I don't talk or share. I need to talk and share my feelings. I need to figure that out. Okay,
Well, and
so
I need, and
I'm
when I
just-
talk and share,
I'm
it's
trying to
like,
give application.
Yes,
to,
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
you're doing a good job. And I try to, I need to talk and share about what's really going on.
Right.
You know, the other thing with the dance is we don't talk or share what's really going on. We kind of allude to it and we play this game. And so there's this dance that happens with that game
Right.
as well.
Right.
And all this stuff is going on, and
Yes.
nobody's addressing it.
Yes.
Right, like the fact that you were late for dinner is not really my problem. But sometimes I have to sit and think about why I'm really like,
What's my feeling?
what's my feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then getting to that core stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that's that hard place. And it's, in a lot of ways, it's like working out. It's like learning, when you start working out, your muscles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's any discipline. It's any discipline.
It's any discipline. I like that.
Well, and it's counterintuitive. I think a lot of times, and I like that you use the frustrated illustration. People don't, and I have the chart in my office. Clients don't inherently look at my chart and say, "Oh, this is really great and helpful. Thank you."
Right.
Usually, they're like, "Why are there so many negative feelings on your chart?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, I
Right.
didn't know I had negative feelings on my chart."
They're just feelings.
I have feelings that are uncomfortable, and I can agree with that. I did not wake up today and say, "Wow, if I could really feel some shame today,
Right.
this would be a great day."
Right. And I had to learn the entire thing between feelings and truth.
Yes.
And because it was very hard when Chico, would tell me, it's just a feeling. It's not the truth. And I'm like,
Feelings aren't facts.
but no, but to me back before knowing this, I was like, no, it is a fact. This is the truth. I am
Right.
angry, and it is a fact.
And you're making me feel it.
And you're making me feel it, which he nipped that quick. I can't make you anything. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna, yeah,
Did you pick? I hope you picked that up fast and reversed it.
very,
She did pick it
very
up fast.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the
But I'm just saying, because like I used frustrated, but I also used to use happy.
Yes.
And happy is not really a feeling.
Right.
Okay. Now try to tell people that though, that happy is not a feeling. Okay. People want to debate that,
Oh, people want to debate
and it's
feelings.
joy. It's joy that's
But
a feeling.
Yes, and joy is
So,
different. It can mean
It is
like
different.
relief, peace, serenity,
Hope.
hope.
Totally. It's totally
Calmness.
different, because happy is not necessarily the truth or the feeling. You can be high and be real happy.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Stoned out of your mind.
Yes.
You can be real happy.
Or
but-
like exercising yourself to death and have runner's high and think
Ex-
my life is great.
That's
And
right.
yet your life is not.
right. It's not factual. It's not truth.
It's not
Anyway,
based in truth.
I just
Yeah.
I like to point that out, because that was a light bulb moment for me.
Right.
To realize that feelings aren't truth. And I've used it with my kids too. I mean, I've been able to tell Beck when he was a little boy and he would be, he gets on tapes, like she get automatic negative thoughts.
Yes.
ants.
Thank you. That's a good CBT word.
Uh-huh. So he would get in his ants, and I would say, okay, I want you to think about, is this just something that you're feeling, or is this the truth? Is this is this a lie you're telling yourself?
Right. And what is this based on? And I think, too, it leads into the idea of learning how to tolerate these feelings that are uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Because even joy can be very uncomfortable.
right.
Yeah, people become more comfortable in what we think are negative
Yes.
feelings. I'm doing air quotes if you're listening to on iTunes. But people can get more comfortable in that. They don't know what it's like to have actual, true joy. and
Right.
stuff
right,
like that.
right.
And so, so
because you can have joy in trials.
yeah, and the deal is
Yes, you
our
can.
And so, yeah.
I love what you're
Tough
saying,
concept.
Shannon. I love what you're saying that, man, I had to work through this.
Yes.
And that's our hope in our
Yes.
family
Yes.
program and in the other one you're doing is, hey, this is progress. We're looking at progress.
And identify. I mean, I really do think it's so much the identification.
Yes.
It's so. Again, it's counterintuitive. People don't like the chart. They don't want to feel pigeonholed. Yet
right.
those are the primary colors. I'm sure you've talked about this before, right? But people, it is counterintuitive to actually sit there and say, "Well, I feel angry,"
yeah.
and to say that
But
Right.
here's the deal.
without a whole lot more extra words around it,
Right.
and learning to
Right.
know.
And here's the deal, Angie. I think you probably agree with me. Is like, yes, it's identifying, but our hope is not just identifying. I think identifying's the first step.
Yes.
I think it's also taking ownership.
Yes, these are mine.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
And you can have yours.
Yes.
But these are mine.
And now I have gotten to a point to where I do say to him things like, because sometimes he gets solution oriented with me, which is unhealthy. But
It is.
It is.
It
yes.
is. And but I'll say,
Because your process is yours.
I want this anger right now. I get this.
Right, it's mine.
This is I'm entitled to this, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to have it for a bit, and I'm going to work through it. But
And it's mine to find the solution
Yes.
and have my process.
yes, you can't.
And I have to come to a place of recognizing, okay, that's all right.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything about me.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But that's what that right. So, but that goes back to, and we like the word codependency in our culture.
Yes.
Right. Originally,
Uh-huh.
Al-Anoners were called co-addicts.
Yes.
And then I always
right.
like to say, right, a bunch of codependents got together and softened the blow a little bit and said, oh, I think codependency is better. But it's really co-addiction.
Right.
Because then all of a sudden, I'm going to take responsibility for your feelings.
Right.
And so then this dance and
It's
the
a
dance
It's
is
like the sisters, even
the
though that
right. There's
addiction wasn't even mentioned. Well, it was because of the drinking, but
because you're drinking, yeah.
but he doesn't want, because my feelings make him uncomfortable.
Well, your
My
he
anger.
feels
He
you
feel-
have a feeling, and then he has a feeling about your feelings.
Yes.
And then
And round and round
Then
we
it
go.
gets selfish though if he's trying to fix me because it's about him.
It is.
But
it
see,
is
that-
selfish.
but
though,
here's
right?
here's the thing: is I like you said, it's selfish. It's definitely selfish.
Yeah.
But that's my codependency
Yeah.
because codependency at its core
It's
is selfish.
I agree.
Right.
I
You know,
agree.
it's selfish and self-centered, and codependents
and
don't
love.
want to.
But it's all three. It's love
yeah.
too.
Right. Sure.
I'm not going to be codependent unless there's a love present. Now it gets real skewed.
Or a care, a care.
A care, maybe a concern.
I think
Maybe
it's a
care or
concern.
concern.
I don't know if it's love.
I'm not saying codependency is loving,
right.
but I do not get codependent on people I don't love
Right.
or care for.
Well, and I do maybe
Maybe you do.
because I'm maybe worse.
Right.
I mean, off. I mean, I maybe
Yeah.
suffer worse.
But
I'll
I don't
get
know.
code-
That's-
I'll get-
that's-
I don't know.
that's-
I
that's
get
where-
code-
That's something
well, wait.
that I would have to.
We could talk
I'd
about
have to
codependence
wrestle
because
with.
I get codependent on people I don't even know, Angie.
Right.
I mean, like if,
Yeah.
Their thoughts.
if we're fighting over a parking spot or something, I mean, I'm like, oh God, what if that person really needs that parking spot
Right.
or whatever? I mean, who cares? I
Right.
mean,
I don't.
I was here for
I
it,
take
yeah.
the parking place.
and
but-
I'm recovering from it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but and I think when I say let me backtrack a moment.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not so much. I think codependency people, especially family members who are codependent,
Yeah.
can feel really bad about them. Like you're saying, I'm codependent, I'm bad, there's something wrong, versus realizing that it simply exists, and it's oftentimes driven by the heart
Right.
and emotion.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That might be a better way to say
I think
it.
it's driven by the heart and emotion. I just
Okay, so
I
let's
wanna
go
be,
from.
but
go ahead.
I just
wanna-
want to be careful on that. But let's
Right.
let's
No,
go.
I got-
The third
So
thing.
let's talk about the third. Yeah.
the third thing is
Trust.
I don't trust.
Correct. And then again, what we see is people get pretty frustrated with that one. They want to argue that.
Yeah, I want to
tru-
hear this. I want to hear
Yeah,
this one.
I trust them. You're saying I don't trust somebody, and essentially it's a twofold. I don't trust you to handle your feelings. So, and I'll use the example right of having a
But not even feelings.
Okay.
I don't trust that you're going to make the right choice.
right or
I don't
behavior. Well,
trust-
out of all that is
Yes.
what you're going to do with that. So I think about my 10-year-old at home. Right, I will want to manage certain behaviors. Feelings to manage his behaviors. And essentially what I'm saying is I don't trust that you can handle what you're experiencing. So you actually need me to come in as your mom and fix whatever's going on. Maybe he has a conflict with a friend, maybe
Sure.
Or school, the
or
teachers,
school, or he's
anything.
struggling with a grade. And so what I'm essentially saying to him, that's the subcontext, right? Not so much, I don't trust you as a person, but I'm essentially saying, hey, like, you need me because I don't think you're competent or capable.
Well,
or
and maybe you don't trust them to feel their feelings appropriately,
Yes.
which is
Like,
not
you might-
giving them the practice to do it.
Right.
It's such a terrible
it's
enabling.
well, it's disabling, right?
Disabling, yeah.
To
there's-
take
Yeah,
a,
I-
yes,
take a
I know,
Chico
I know.
word,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Right, but it's
Disabling.
taking that away from them and essentially creating a dependency.
Yes.
And I see this a lot of times in marriage, not to switch gears too much, but I need this person to validate me, and somebody will keep validating as much as they can,
And, you
and
can
it's never
and
enough
It's
Yeah.
never enough. And
because
so,
it's disabling.
and that's why, I love the 12 steps, but also I love Jesus. And I want, man, I have to have that relationship. And like Shannon said at the beginning, is like she has one boss, and that's Christ.
Right.
Is because if I don't have a relationship with God, I believe that I am God, and I start to not trust. They need me. They need me. So in a way, I'm playing that God character.
Well, and if I think I know what my 10-year-old needs to do to handle a grade, I am taking a God position.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I work with a lot of people who have faith, and they will argue with me about that.
Yes.
Versus recognizing, no, that is actually taking a God position.
Yeah.
Which is not loving
No.
at all. It's selfish.
And then that's them really
and
not
it's-
owning
It's
their
selfish. It's controlling. It's all those things. But
manipulative.
But
Like, I can do it.
we
very,
we can call it controlling and manipulative, but at its core, it's selfish.
Absolutely.
It's because what you're gonna feel better if he does better.
Right. I don't want him to fail because I'm selfish. Right. My son goes to school. Everybody knows I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
we have
just-
the same problem.
Right. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think, wow, why is her son, isn't she a therapist? Why is he the one
Right.
that's like popping off in the class? And I'm like, well,
Right.
then you don't know me very well because
Right.
I pop off. Like
Right.
he comes by that naturally.
But
Well,
also
and then we're like with Chico, I'm like, really? He wouldn't stay in his seat?
That's weird.
Huh, shocking. He mooned his friends in PE, and people saw out the window.
That's weird.
I wonder where he learned that
cannot-
behavior.
Imagine that.
Shannon likes to show her ass a lot.
Yeah, it's me. It's all me.
It's all your
I
fault.
take full responsibility for the
course.
full moons.
Then that would make you God. So I'm
Yeah,
not going
right.
to. I'm going
Oh,
to
yeah,
take that
so
back
I-
from you. I say,
yeah.
really, that's not. That's
I'm not
right.
responsible.
You
for his
are
behavior.
responsible for your ass, but not
Yes.
your child.
And I, long time ago, gave up my responsibility for Chico's action as my
Yes.
husband. And
Yes.
I
So hard.
I say that a lot to friends and people, they'll be like, well, Chico, did that or something. I'm like, I'm not responsible for him.
Why are you telling me?
Yeah, go tell him.
Right. Not my problem.
And you did do that a long time ago. I think as mothers, it's probably a little tougher.
Well, yes, of course it. And again, there is a different bond. Obviously, a mom carries a child. Even with an adoption, there's a different bond
Yeah.
that takes place. Like chemically, we know this takes place. And
Yeah.
and so I hear that too.
Like oxytocin.
That the oxytocin.
Yes.
Yes. Good job.
Wow.
Yes.
$10 word.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: is I agree with that. But what I want to talk about real quick before we wrap up is I love that you just took your ownership in your bulimia, your eating disorder. Shannon took her ownership in her codependency. Y'all all know that I'm a drunk. I'm sober.
Not
Not
anymore.
currently.
I am
That
not
is water
currently.
in your bottle.
I
yes.
am. I am a recovered alcoholic.
We would all know it if you relapsed. Just
Yes.
saying. I'm just saying.
But the deal is, I love, our hope with our family program, and my hope with just people in general is to embrace our brokenness.
Yes, like that's, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. That's probably for me the thing that I want most when clients come into my office is, and when they come in, I pray that, hey, this will be a space that we can talk about those things, and it's not, oh my gosh, I'm controlling. It's more like,
Right.
like I'm very controlling. I need Jesus. I need
Yeah.
something greater than myself.
I need
help.
community.
I need
Right.
people.
I need to work the steps. All those things.
Wouldn't social functions and dinner parties and parties in general and everything be a whole lot more fun if everybody walked through the door with their own sense of self? If they
Yes.
just walked through the door like, I am who I am and I own it. Like, if you were the goofiest person on the planet, but you owned your stuff and
Right.
you were confident in yourself, I would enjoy talking to you so much more than this super,
And-
successful.
Talking about all the
and they're
accomplishments.
pretentious, and their
pretentious and pretending to
entitlement.
care about me. or
But
whatever. I mean,
here's the deal: is I think
the world a better place.
and I have my character defects, I have
Mm-hmm.
my shortcomings, I have all those things. But the thing is that I think sometimes, and I'm not going to say all the times, but sometimes a lot of people struggle with me because I love embracing brokenness.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times I embrace brokenness and it freaks the shit out of people.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes the no filter, if you're talking about a social situation or a party, I mean,
They
sometimes
do
you
call me
can-
the social assassin.
social
or Larry
assassin.
David of Lakewood.
Yes, Larry David of Lakewood, because you can kind of
Does that make sense?
throw some
Oh,
heavy
yeah.
shit down, like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, and people are like,
I don't know I don't know what to do with that.
not the time or the place.
And
then
I
used to
think I-
scramble
I
and be
think I
like, oh,
mellowed-
he's kidding. Oh no, don't listen to him or whatever. And now I'm like,
I think I mellowed out though some in the
Little
last
bit.
few years, but I would do it to get a rise, and that wasn't healthy.
well, that is.
But the deal is with
Yeah.
our family program, we're trying to create that environment. With Angie's help, and
Casey Davis. We got to talk
and
about Casey
John.
and John.
Casey,
Yes.
Yes, and we're we're trying to create that space where it's all right to embrace your brokenness, to give them some tools.
To identify, and I think we've scratched the surface, right? We've talked
Yes.
about
Right.
these three rules,
Unspoken.
unspoken rules. I think we could literally spend hours and hours.
You just said at the
Dissecting this.
beginning of this episode you don't have that much to talk about.
Well,
we
right.
could talk a long time, but you
About-
got to get going.
not at
here
one
in a little-
time. Not at one time.
Oh, I could
Correct.
talk at one time.
But we
Yeah.
could dissect these things and barely scratch the surface. And I think the intent of a family program really is the aha, which I like that you said though. That's what it's one
Yeah.
thing, one new thought, maybe one identification of something I like to say not working.
Right.
Yes.
It's not effective.
Yes.
And that's okay.
And you can take it away
and go do, and then
go
maybe find a
work
different
on it.
solution.
Go do something.
And
about
so
it.
that's
Yeah.
where I love working with Angie, because Angie and I have this good. We meet with the families without the clients.
Right. And my involvement is very short with Casa Clean, about
Yeah.
2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so we do that with the families, and then we let go of it, and and Casey and John
Take it.
take it, or Caleb. Caleb's going to do it this weekend because Casey's sick.
Oh, okay.
But the deal is we let go and allow them to run that. We're excited. Thank you so much. Remember
I know.
Sparrow
Thanks for coming.
House Counseling.
Yes, thank you.
We're excited. And until next time, I think we're going to have Mary, my
I think so.
hero.
I think Mary's gonna
And
be
I
in town.
love Mary. Mary is awesome. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.